Hello, my darling heart.
Hello.
Right now, we are connected all the way. Well, actually, Rhode Island, right?
That is correct.
That is correct. With my darling, dearest Hart Fargo. There is so much to say. Hart has been on the journey with me for podcasting, well, kind of from the beginning, because when I started doing my Curious Conversation in person, Hart was one of the first ones I had a curious conversation with, which was very much fun. And I was just saying to him before, too, that he actually introduced me to the world of podcasting in a sense, as he was running one of his own shows with a friend of his. What was it called again?
I was called Why Don't You Love Me?
Oh, yeah, it was so fun. I loved it. You should totally. It's still live, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like still on Spotify.
Yeah. So you should totally go back because I think it's quite timeless material.
My best friend's called Kira, and our dating woes are very timeless. And even now, it's so funny. We talk about it all the time because we have so many stories. Like every day is like a new story for me and her. So yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, it was very insightful. And to give people an idea, I mean that from the most complimentary part of me, but sex education, for me, I loved it. And I feel it's kind of in that same world, kind of.
I love talking about sex and relationships and all of that stuff. I just find so interesting, and not just diving into different topics, but the way in which we talk about things, the way that we think some things are taboo, that some things are like socially acceptable to talk about, the way that we teach like young boys and girls how to interact on the playground. All of it, I think, really gets coded into like the fabric of our life, and I love unpicking all of it. So yeah, I love the show Sex Education as well.
Yeah, and I'm always going with what is present. I was absolutely not anticipating going to say the following. However, in my personal journey, I've been very much opening up to talk about sex, because when Hart got to know me, like, we would never ever talk about it. And recently, for me, past lives are very much a thing. And we fully watched Bridgerton. Have you seen it already, Hart?
I've seen a couple episodes.
Right. But even the setting, the scenery, the time zone, like, I so lived in that space, like, and I so recognize how women in that time, they didn't even know how they would become pregnant, and just these really important things, and I had a conversation with my grandma about it actually too, just asking like, how was it in your time about knowing about it and stuff. And obviously then my friend was like, Tessa, did you think your grandma lived in 1800? I was like, no, but I mean, it's different.
But Grandma, Bridgerton was a documentary, and I saw you in the background, so I would love some insight on what that was like.
Anyway, Hart and I connected over completely other things, but I would say we have a very full spectrum: friendship, connection, love, everything.
Yeah.
But Hart, I always like to do a little card and some cards. Shall we do that first?
Please.
For you.
I love it.
I know. Yeah, because Hart also came to he's been one of my guinea pigs. He's been to one of my early kind of workshops, which was so funny. You brought friends along. And
I feel like I am a disciple of the Hart-Tessa.
Oh, wow. A disciple?
I ask any of my friends, and they've heard me talk about you and rave about you, and when you've experienced it. When I've introduced you to people in real life, they're like, this is Tessa. This makes perfect sense. And I feel like I bear witness to the magic that you are. And I love sharing it with people, because it's so fun as well to see people get to meet you and have their own experience of who you are rather than just hearing about it through stories of, well, I did this thing with my friend Tessa, and it's a visualization exercise, and it may seem strange at first, but if we just do it, I really think you'll like it. And getting to see them have a one-on-one with you rather than just like translated badly through me. You know what I mean?
No, but then it's your expression, and I just feel absolutely honored that you feel as a disciple. I see you as one, I do. And our dreams, I'm so looking forward to the day when we are collaborating in a professional space where, I don't know, you are either the writer or actor, or I don't know what we'll be doing, I don't know, but we'll be connected for life.
Oh, without a doubt.
No. Okay, anyway, too much sentiment. Let's go back to the basics, yeah? So I have here little cards.
Is this your card? Pick a card, any card.
Yes. Say stop, please.
Stop.
Oh, yeah. Do you want more?
Stop.
Oh, that came out. One more?
Stop.
Okay. Oh my God, Hart, you know what just put back in my mind? I don't know if you put it somewhere on Instagram or YouTube, but so I'll quickly explain to people. But I basically quit my job. So we met at Lululemon. Okay, right now we have a little bit of the rundown, but we met at Lululemon. You can tell your story in a second. But then we were first love, first sight. We would talk all the time. We would talk in chapters because we would talk so much that we needed to end the chapter, and then we would continue our conversation.
And not always by choice, but sometimes we would be working and people would say, hey, I love that you two clearly love each other, but there are customers like who need to go and be looked after. So please go and do your job.
And just to clarify, we were really able to work well together too. However, we also loved talking. And then anyway, at one point I decided to bungee jump into the universe, say goodbye to Lululemon. And one of my endeavors, one thing I felt was doing my own performance. And so it just came round, my own concert, and Hart performed at that concert with your own written work. And I just loved it so much. And I believe some of your work is online to see, right, Hart?
Yeah. I kind of, everything I do, I put on Instagram pretty much. And that was a great moment for both of us because you had this goal of making the concert happen. I had this goal of sharing my work publicly for the first time. And we got to collaborate in the lead up to the concert, planning it, flyers, posters, design, marketing, funding, putting it on, setting the whole thing up, taking the whole thing down. It really was a dream team. You, me, Quinn, and Anouk.
Yeah. Oh my God, you were in the true highs and true lows everywhere. My God, yeah. I called them my sunbeams. That was my team. I always like my words. Anyway, do you want to know the card?
No.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, just
throw him out.
Okay. Ooh. This one says attack, pain, fear, judgment, and any form of separation are merely calls for help. Wow.
You kindly gifted me a set of the Gabby Bernstein cards, and I've pulled that one quite a few times.
Interesting. So you know this one well. And then acceptance, willingness, and expansiveness. Interesting.
I love that expansiveness came up because we, from day one, have always talked about expanding into ourselves, bigger than what we think of ourselves, expanding our goals, our dreams, our aspirations, our love for ourselves, all of it. I feel like expanding has always been one of our words that we all return to. So that's really nice.
That's nice. Yeah. And I always feel just so open with you, that I can be fully myself. Also, when Hart would share a really exciting thing, I was like, so what does it look like? And oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just think like if I'll do this thing first, like that will be all right. And I was like, bullshit. This is bullshit, Hart. Tell me the truth right now. But as we kind of know, like how we speak to each other, but that was also good for me to just. I was like bullshit. But Hart, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
In whatever way, in whatever way you want to share yourself with the world, or in this moment in time. Like every moment is different, but I mean, who is Hart? What is important to you?
I am a brother, a son, and a friend. I am originally from a tiny village in Norfolk, and then I moved to Cambridge to go to boarding school, and then to London for uni. Our paths crossed in London. And then I packed up my life, moved over to New York, worked on a Broadway show, which was really exciting. And now I work in the theatre industry, behind the scenes, in an agency where we like represent writers and directors. But I would say at my core, I'm a writer, a creative, a playwright, a screenwriter, a poet, I guess. All the stuff. I don't know. I don't like it. Stop. No more.
It's like, are you getting nervous now?
I guess I am. I haven't. You know what it is? It's weird to have to, I don't know, I guess distill who you are by what you do.
Totally.
But I'm like, I don't know if I am any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I find much joy in, I love writing, and I know that I want writing and creating work to be my like full-time job, and be lucky enough to have my passion also be my like income earner. But I don't know if saying I'm a writer, there's some validation of being like, yeah, I validate myself and my work enough to call myself a writer. I've been paid for my work. I've been paid for my words. So I feel like I can call myself a professional writer in that sense, or a published writer. But then thinking about who I am, I don't know if it lines up with that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like I'm more in relation to people than I am to an act or an action. I don't really know.
That's beautiful. And I think that is already why I do find this such a cool question, because it brings up so much. Like when somebody would ask me, I remember somebody would tell me, instead of saying I am Tessa, say my name is Tessa, because I am I? You know what I mean? And it just depends as well to who I'm speaking. But I know for myself that when I would say I'm a singer, I'm a this, I'm a that, like I feel in a way I am just me, very like I'm just living and breathing. And at the same time, I feel a sort of shame at times. Like, am I allowed to take in that space what is kind of, you know, for instance, in your case, a writer, maybe that was a dream of being a little boy. One day I'll be a writer, and now maybe you are. Or, but then again, those labels are really not necessary at all, of course.
Yeah. And something we've spoken about as well is outgrowing dreams. Having a dream when you're little, fulfilling it when you're grown, and then thinking like, oh, okay, what next?
Yeah.
Or having the opportunity to fulfill a dream that you had, and having to make the decision to say, you know what, maybe that is what I wanted 5 years ago, but now I'm in this position having to make this choice. this actually doesn't really suit my life or how I'm living it anymore. I'm something different. I'm someone different. I'm someone that I didn't even know I could or would be. Yeah, it's interesting. And the phrase I am in Hebrew, I really hope I don't butcher this, but I learned in school that the Hebrew word for God, or one of the Hebrew words for God, is Yahweh, which translates to I am. And in like John's Gospel, there's a series of teachings by Jesus to the disciples and people who have come to hear him preach, where he says, I am light, I am the light of the world. And when he would say, I am the light of the world, people would collapse to the floor and start praying, because I am translates to Yahweh, translates to God. And in the Jewish faith, Hebrew language, you shouldn't invoke God's name directly, because it's a sign of disrespect of his like great power. So if you have any Jewish friends or family, if they write the word God, sometimes it will be G-D, so they're not directly spelling out his name and invoking him. And so the phrase I am historically holds immense power, godly power. So almost it's no surprise, it's no wonder that we feel such discomfort or tension around saying, I am this, I am that. Because throughout history, all the way back thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, even then they were struggling with being able to say I am. I don't know. I love language and history and stuff like that. So it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think on the flip side of it all, like when working on yourself, for instance, obviously they work with affirmations as in I am enough, I am whatever. And even just being able to really shift into I am, stop, that's it.
Yeah.
To not needing to justify. And I think that's something you sort of spoke on, or at least that's what came up for me when you were sharing who you are, or introducing yourself, to just be, and to be fluid, and to be okay with today it's right and tomorrow it's left, or whatever feels good. To really, yesterday this beautiful thing came up, listen feelingly, and I want to do a podcast on that. I just think that's such a beautiful sentiment, listen feelingly, and just being. Okay, well, as we both know, like for me, performance magic is very important. And I always like to ask people about it. And I know you've been on stage, either on stage yourself, being a performer, but behind the stage, like all sorts of ways. But I'd love for you to maybe take us with you on a moment when you experienced performance magic.
Well, I'll answer it really literally, which was the very first time I came to one of your performance magic workshops. And it was me, and I brought a couple friends, and I just knew you. I knew you relatively well at that point, but we weren't as close as we are now. And I told my friends, I was like, guys, Tessa's incredible. I love her. I work with her. She has this company called Performance Magic, and she runs these workshops all about raising consciousness in the performing arts. I really think this is something that you guys will like and get on board with. I'm going to go to her workshop. Do you want to come? And they came, and it was great. We had a wonderful session. And there was a moment in the session when we were instructed by you in a guided meditation to think of, I don't want to call it a happy place, but to take our minds somewhere where there are no...
Safe haven.
Safe haven, exactly. Thank you. And to this day, I can picture exactly where I was, where I pictured, what I was doing. That exact section of like the guided meditation feels like recorded in my brain. Like I can almost rewind it and play it back like a videotape. And when you had like brought us out of the meditation and we were debriefing, I started crying. My friends started crying. A mutual friend that you and I both have who was there started crying. And it was a really powerful, moving session. And it was really special to experience your work firsthand, not just through me and my own experiences, but to see it happening to my friends around us as well. Yeah, that was great.
Wow. And have you been able to sort of, yeah, because I don't really have a word for it. I think performance magic, obviously I connected with it from my own performing background and my curiosity as in how does that magic happen when you are on stage and you are an audience member, that magical moment. And wanting to help performers to really embody that experience for the audience. But now, well, for me, that answer is presence. And I've been, experiencing it more and more and more. Are there any other moments that you feel like, whoa, that was also like such a clear, because I think that's what I hear when you say these beautiful words, which once again, thank you, like that you can rewind, and that's so cool. Like I read in the mindfulness book that this man, he was telling how he was taking this MBSRM like course, the mindfulness sort of course there is out there. A lot of people know, but at one point you have a raisin and you need to like observe it, smell it, touch it, whatever. He said that was one of my most memorable meals of my life. A little raisin. And I mean, do you have any other moment like that you were like, whoa, I'm sure you have plenty knowing you.
Yeah. Loads of emotional raisins that I just carry around in my backpack. A bunch, yeah. And exactly the same as performance magic, I drop back in and rewind and replay. Yeah, I have so many. There's one moment, and it's a really intimate moment, not in a sexual way, in an emotionally intimate way. And now I'm thinking about it, I don't think I do want to share it.
No.
Because it's something I really kind of like the idea of having it saved. And
thank you.
It's between me and this one other person, in like the most beautiful place in this world I've ever seen with my two eyes. And thinking about that metaphor of like videotapes, like the old VHS tapes or cassette tapes, if you rewind them and run them back and rewind and run them back, you wear out the film and end up disintegrating the quality of the tape by going over and over again so much. And I don't go back to this memory often, but when I do, it brings me so much joy and some sadness. And, ultimately it's all positive, but I want to like kind of keep it as like crystalline and precious as possible.
Thank you for saying this. And I want to sort of say a couple things on it, because two things are very present to me to say right now. Like, three maybe, I guess. One, well done. I mean, you are like the epiphany. I mean, when we talk about boundaries and stuff, this is a beautiful, but I mean, it's a beautiful lesson in life where somebody asks a question, somebody says, you know what? No, I'd rather not. Like, how powerful is that? That's just first, like A marks, 10 plus, whatever. Then
going back to the beginning of our friendship, boundaries in the ground.
Yes.
So,
you do now, you do. And then secondly, yes, about recalling memories. I love doing that. As in, I once read an article, and I might have shared it with you in a sense of talking about it, where we experience so much in our lives, which we take so much for granted. And when we can really shift into that present state, you can really like experience everything, recall everything. You can travel back to it. and really relive it, like actually digest it, I suppose, or how you always like to say, unpick it. But at the same time, like on the flip side, I think that's such a good thing to say, like that you don't want to wear out the video. And then one more thing, and then I'll stop in a sense. But I never stop talking. But my coach, he said, this past Tuesday, we had a coaching, and he was talking all sorts towards me, and then he says, yeah, how does that resonate? Like, how does that feel? And I instantly wanted to shift into kind of sharing mode, like, oh yeah, so then I felt this and da da da. He says, Tessa, I want to ask you one question. The following, what you're going to share with me, will that strengthen your experience or will it weaken your experience? And then I was just like, wow. Wow. Literally. And so I had a feel. I was like, yeah, weaken. So so I'll keep it to myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is like perfect example. So thank you for showing this to me.
Well, you're very welcome. And as well, it's that thing of, as humans, we naturally build stories. Maybe, you know, that acting exercise where you pair off and person A will tell person B a story, and then the group will come back together and person B has to recount the story to the group. And it's a way of showing how we as humans naturally build stories and sort of layer on top of them our own version of events. You know, maybe I told you I was walking down the street to meet a friend, but when you told it to the group, it was, well, Hart was skipping along the street, so happy because he was going to see his friends, they were going to have lunch, and suddenly it's a whole nother thing. Mm-hmm. And I think with these, let's call them memory raisins, because that seems like the perfect phrase. Memory raisins. Oh. I fear that if I know what it is exactly in my head, and unless I have the perfect words to like beat by beat carbon copy it out onto paper or onto the screen, or if it were to take a form outside of my head, I would want to do that memory such justice that I wouldn't want to impose any kind of falsity or rose-tinted glasses or hindsight onto it. I want it to just to be exactly what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, just whenever you speak like this, I'm so in love with you. Just now, you were like this spoken poet. And this is something I want to tell people listening, because it really gave me such insight, in a sense, like how our friendship, in a way, like we did way back when. Do you remember we once said, I'm like this waterfall and you are the writer, in a sense, like you're sharing. I would help you be more waterfall and you will help me be more writer, in a sense of punctuation sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. To go back to the concert, I remember it was something that was said. I'm frustrated that I can't remember exactly what you said to me when you had the idea for the concert in the first place, but you said something that was so Tessa, that was like, well, what I want to do is a love burst experience for sunbeams and butterflies, and it comes from the heart and the soul, and it really just encapsulates presence in a way that is transformative for both audience and performer. And so it was like the process of understanding that and like completely respecting it and translating it into, okay, so you want to do a concert. Did I get that right? And you're like, oh.
And I must say, I don't know if you would agree, but I do feel, especially being on the ship, I've become much more human being, and I speak more human language now.
But the beauty of you as well is you have, I don't want to say you have like one foot in the real world and one foot in the like spiritual plane, because I feel like you have 4 feet and you're 2 feet here, 2 feet there. And you have the ability to shift and move and be fluid, all while staying true to who you are. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever seen you in a situation where you haven't been 100% Tessa. I feel like you don't compromise who you are, no matter what you're doing, what job you may be in, who you're talking to. It's great because you value yourself enough to know that you're too special to mess around changing yourself for other people.
That's very sweet. Thank you. And well, I remember that we sort of tried to recall this one sentence because once again, Poet Hart was on the roll when he said something and we sort of held on to that sentence. But do you remember, like, I love myself too much to stay in this situation? That was it, right?
Yeah. Or, yeah, that must have been it. Yeah, I think that, and it distills so many different things.
I hope that more people will do that. That they, well, I suppose first off, go inwards to the journey of, getting to know themselves in a sense. Like, oh, I like this. I don't like this. Almost like a sort of buffet kind of form of humanness. And
I'll take a buffet of humanness. That's delicious. Thank you very much.
So tell me, a buffet of humanness in a human form over here. What are you living the story you want to tell?
Yeah, without a doubt. And every sentence may not be the dream story, but it's all shading, it's all light and dark. It's all, everything is put into contrast. The lows make the highs even higher and vice versa. Without a doubt. I mean, you hear all of it. You truly hear the absolute peaks of my life and the absolute troughs. And yeah, I feel good, which sometimes I feel like in the moments where I have been good, this past year especially, I almost feel guilty saying that because the world is burning around us and filled with such hurt and pain and grief that in the moments where I find a couple weeks of joy or relief from it all, you almost start to feel guilty for it. But I hold those times so precious because probably only like 24, 48 hours prior, I was crying down the phone to you, crying down the phone to my mum, feeling in like really dark and heavy places. And when you're in the dark and heavy places, it's really hard to remember that the light places are up above, that they're just around the corner.
That's right. And I think too that when you are in those brighter places, feeling guilt is very normal. And but at the same time, whilst you have that bright smile, maybe you walk down the street and all of a sudden this stranger receives your smile and his or her day is brightened up. It's always this sort of, clockwork. Like it's just all those little, how do you call them? The rattles?
Oh.
Clocks.
Cogs.
Oh,
The clogs.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm in the Netherlands right now. Exactly, the cogs.
Yeah.
And it's all so intertwined. And I want to compliment you that you are one of my inspirations of being in the moment. Like when you feel shit, that it's okay. And you are one of the most amazing listeners to just be, it's shit. And then we move on. And nothing needs to happen, no solution, and we go on.
Because also, this is something we've spoken about as well. And this is something that my sister Morgan said to me once, and it really stuck, was that life doesn't happen, just when I'm done with this project, just when I can get this week out of the way, just when I can be over this hump. Like, life will never happen when it's deferred. Like, all of this is it. This is all, and it's right now, and it's going to be shit, and it's going to be good. And nothing we have experienced or felt is brand new. There is nothing new under the sun. It's just going through our body in a way that we haven't experienced before. But I'll call my mum up and she'll say the most profound, laser focused thing that I need to hear, because she has so many more years of it under her belt. And it's great. Did I tell you what she said when I was like feeling a bit heartbroken recently?
Don't know.
You know the thing with the shelves, the boy with the shelves?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there we go. I knew that's all I had to say and you would get it. I was feeling a little bit down about that, and I called my mum, and she just I didn't even have to say a thing. She was like, I said, hello. She said, oh, so what's up? You're sad, you're down, like, what's happening? And I told her the whole story, and she was like, look, you were not to know. There was nothing that you could have done to prevent this or to stop this from happening. But now it has happened. So leave him behind and take the lesson forward. Leave him in the past and take that learning forward. And that just clicked in my brain, and everything changed, and everything was fine again.
Yeah.
Because I could just move through it, because she had the perfect words of advice, because it's a universal feeling that everybody has felt before.
Yeah. Yeah.
That dickhead with the shelves.
Thank you for the lesson. Goodbye.
Enjoy your shelves. Enjoy.
Yeah, we'll keep the shelf story to ourselves. So what does guts mean to you, Hart Fargo?
Oh, well, I just when you first played it to me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, was that at the bench?
Yeah, on the bench.
Oh, we imagine, people listening, we imagine sitting at this it's a sort of graveyard near King's Cross, right? Yes. And then first off, I think we were listening to the applause by the trees, because I will tell you a secret when you listen to this. If you are surrounded by trees and you close your eyes and the leaves are on the trees and a breeze goes through the leaves, it sounds like applause. Like they are all clapping for you, the universe. And then we were sitting there, we were imagining that we were in Central Park on that bench. And then I let you listen to the song.
It was so special. It was so special. That's one of my emotional raisins.
Yes. And one of my emotional raisins was too when I was at your place, and then it came on the playlist or something, and we were singing along to that song.
So that's what guts means to me in a very real sense. And designing the artwork for it as well.
Absolutely.
But I suppose my interpretation of guts, something that my grandma said that sort of came to me through my mum, was this saying, don't let adversity be your excuse to fail, let it be your reason to succeed. And I love that. I love that saying, and thinking about all of the adversity that my grandma came through when she first moved to the UK, and now has, this huge family of love around her. I think of that phrase whenever there's a no or a setback, and not letting that derail everything. Because, life is that long winding road, and you may go up here, left, right, around, all to get to the same point that you thought was just going to be a straight line. And so, yeah, I guess guts is pushing forward despite all the setbacks. Or maybe another way of looking at it is guts is pushing forwards with all the setbacks like carried on you. there's something you take from all of those lessons. Like my mum said, leave the thing behind, leave the experience behind, but take the lesson forward. So taking the love and the light from all of the positive experiences, but taking the lessons and the learning from all the negatives. Yeah.
And so I always do like to ask, like, have there been moments of gut fear you needed to go through, and what happened on the other end? And at the same time, I kind of want to say, like, are there any setbacks? And of course, you don't need to, because I really appreciate you talking about it before, but you don't need to dive into the full emotional reason, but rather maybe I'm curious about the lesson you took forward.
I think moving to New York was a big moment of guts, but there was something kind of so undeniable about it. Undeniable isn't the right word, but inevitable. It kind of, there was just something in my bones that it just wasn't not going to happen. So it actually didn't really take guts, because I just knew. It was, I think everybody kind of has that thing in their life that they just know. And moving to New York was definitely I just know this is going to happen. I think a moment of guts fear was, well, there have been several moments throughout the pandemic and self-isolation and lockdowns where all I've wanted to do is go to the airport and come home. And some days it's a very emotional, I'm just going to leave right now. Other days it's been, let me sit down and make a plan. Let me apply to a master's program. Let me interview for the master's program. Let me wait for a result from the interview. Oh, wow, I got into the master's program. What do I do now? Do I stay here? Do I go home? And I decided to say no to my place on that program and stay here. And it was not a super easy decision, but I definitely think it was the right one. And something my friend Eliana said to me right before I moved, we're having our final goodbye, and she just said something so distilled and simple with such an economy of words that I just have taken it with me ever since. She just said, sometimes it's going to be really shit and you just keep going. And that was really it. She was like, sometimes you are going to want to come home more than anything in the world. Just stay and just push through it. And I have carried that in many different ways since she said that. Because again, with that idea of something inevitable, I just know I'm not done here just yet. And there have been a couple signs from the universe that I'm on the right path, that things are going well. I've shared them all with you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So yeah, the gut fear of trusting yourself that you're on the right path, that you're doing the right thing, even when it feels low and sad and lonely or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And I think you are actually something came to mind, you are such a great example about you don't get what you want, but you get what you need. Because I remember when you would share with me, I would like to apply to drama schools in New York and all the big schools, and we would dream about it and think about how amazing it would be. And then finally, when you actually went, you already worked on Broadway, you did what people would like to do, and then you were in the room having basically a masterclass in the real world. Do you remember when you told me? And I thought, this is exactly that. It's just so beautiful. So often we, what we were talking before, but you project a certain way into the world, this is what I want to do. But then actually what comes back to you is maybe, and if you dare to walk that course in that way, it's so much more fulfilling and rich that in a way you would have never imagined. with what we were talking about, for sure.
Yeah. The dreams that prior to that moment in your life, your brain wasn't even big enough to compute those kind of dreams, to even think something like that would be possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Expansiveness. So tell us, what is the story you want to tell, Hart?
Oof. The story I want to tell is one of creation. I want to create worlds within my writing. I want to create worlds that feel so three-dimensional and tactile and physical that you want to like peel back the TV screen and like reach in and live in those worlds. I want to be surrounded by family and friends who feel like family. There's a song. Do you know that? It's like Sigala and Ella Eyre. It's called I Came Here for Love. And it's kind of like, I don't want to call it a generic top 40 like pop radio song, but that kind of is what it is. And it's upbeat, and you would like hear it at Lulu or like at a workout class. But it's something that's kind of pretty mundane, run of the mill. But again, my sister Morgan, she just took that phrase, I came here for love. And she was like, wait, this is it. This is the reason I'm here. I came here into this world for love, to give love and be loved. And I thought that was the most perfect summation of what we're all trying to do here in our own ways, is to be here for love and to express ourselves through love and our own channels of what that means and what that looks like. So I guess I would like that to be part of my story as well.
Well, you are already doing it. So beautiful. Let me feel. Is there anything else? Do you have anything to say?
No.
You do. I know you do. I know you do. There is something.
Just like generally?
I don't know. I feel you want to say something.
I just want to say I love you. I do. But you know this, that I like that there's almost no point in trying to convey how I feel about you, how I feel about my sisters, my brother, my mum, my grandmas, cousins, like best friends, all those people. There's almost no point in me trying to get the words out because it would just sound insincere. And that's the last thing in the world that I want to be. And it is just one of our favorite words. It's ineffable. I guess that's what I want to say.
Do you want to recite a part of your poem? You want to do something? Would I put you on the block if I would ask you?
No. Let's see.
Okay, let's do it.
Definitely not a whole thing. There's just, I just have a running note on my phone of things that, let's see. Let's see if if there are any good sentences here.
For everyone listening, this is absolutely not, I didn't ask Hart anything.
Okay, what about, okay, because I'm talking about family and memories and missing people, I've got this written down. It says, I keep rotating the chicken as if a new angle will jostle a memory of how my mum used to carve a bird with such ease. I feel like I made a roast chicken one night and I couldn't figure out how to carve it. And I was looking at it on this chopping board thinking like, which way up does this go? What's left? What's right? And almost with every turn, I was having a new memory of like a different Sunday lunch at home with my mum and Morgan and my dad, and trying to think like, if I just line this up in the right way, all of it will come flooding back and I'm going to know how to cut this chicken. Eventually it was fruitless and I just had to YouTube it. But I liked that it was almost like a dog toy, like I was shaking it and getting treats out. Because every time I turned the chicken, I was seeing a new memory like from childhood. That was quite nice.
Wow, thank you. That's beautiful. And we could go on and on and on talking, but I just feel quite complete. And I just want to thank you. And I also, what you just said about not capturing it in words, we're such multidimensional beings and we are gifted with the gift of words. But sometimes it's also very much good to be in the being space.
Yeah.
And I know when me and Hart would meet, we sometimes, if we wouldn't have seen each other for some time, I was like, we just need to calibrate for a second, like energetically, we would literally need to sort of level a little bit and then we could move on.
Yeah.
Let's recap these words. Attack, pain, fear, judgment, and any form of separation are merely calls for help. And acceptance, willingness, and expansiveness. What resonates for you? What comes up for you?
I feel like now I'm focusing on the willingness. The idea, I like that. Having the willingness to try new things, to be vulnerable, to jump into it all with full force. To be, I like that. To be willing enough and daring enough to have the guts, to live the life, to live the story that you want to tell. And it all comes full circle.
Yay! Yeah. And I think it's beautifully, what I'll take on from this conversation myself is very much about something which is already very present for me with you. But I guess even more so to be truly present, like Morgan would say, but that it is truly right now, because the other day Richard was saying to me, Hart, like, Tessa, stop living in the future. You are creating problems for the present. And I thought that is so true. And to really be here and listen feelingly, listen, create, and live that story, because that is the only place we can create from as creatives. Like, it would be superficial if we would go on stage or write something. Like, to really go out and explore, that is our tank of wealth. You know,
you have to put stuff in to get stuff out. You have to go out and live life and get the experiences to be able to create anything that is of substance and depth and speaks to lived experiences, rather than feeling a bit thin, a bit too deep.
Yeah. And what will you take on, darling?
I think, in a very real sense, my next challenge to take on is to write this play that I've been commissioned to write. I need to dive in and be brave and have the guts to do it and get it finished, and accept that it won't be perfect, and not let the fear of that stop me from doing it in the first place.
That's right. Yes. And so when people want to find you, where can they find you?
Should I just give out my address? Let's do that. My actual physical address. No, it's Hart Fargo everywhere.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, and Kira and all of my friends make fun of me for this, for spelling out my name. They always say, I go, oh, it's Hart, H-A-R-T. And like I say it in that same kind of musical lilt. But yeah, Hart Fargo, H-A-R-T, F-A-R-G-O.
And I just love, this is a small, like, I'm so into the heart and everything. And of course I have a heart friend. Like, who could have thought? And how you write your name Hart is the way you would write heart, the word heart as in the heart, but then in Dutch.
Oh, I never knew that.
No? Have I never told you?
No, that's great.
Yeah. So
All
that's
right.
like
Okay.
this heart.
So all of my Dutch words are very anatomical. Heart, left, guts.
Yeah.
It's all the body. It's all biological.
Yeah, Dutch language is very literal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, darling. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And I hope everyone enjoys it. And if they want to find all the incredible wonders Hart creates, go and find him.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Bye, bye, bye.
Love you.